Hi, and welcome to On and Off, our podcast covering the on-premise and off-premise beverage alcohol industry. I'm Melissa Dowling, editor of Cheers.
And I'm Kyle Swartz, editor of Beverage Dynamics Magazine. Today, we're going to be talking about beverage trends for 2026 with the folks from af&co and Carbonate, the two San Francisco-based agencies that just presented their 18th annual Hospitality Trends Report.
Let me introduce our guest. Once again, we have Andrew Freeman, founder of af&co and co-founder of Carbonate, and Candice McDonald, co-founder and managing director of Carbonate, which is not based in San Francisco, Kyle.
That's what the script said. You sent the script. You wrote the script.
Sorry.
We don't care where you find us as long as you find us. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
So welcome back to both of you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
It's nice to
you.
be here. Happy New Year, happy holidays. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. Happy holiday to you both. And happy 20th anniversary to you guys as an
Thank you.
agency.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a big night. AF&Co celebrated its 20th, and then Carbonate is in our seventh year, Candace, I think.
Yeah,
So
we're
yeah, it's
kicking off our
been
seventh year, 7 year
yeah.
itch.
Yeah, Candace and I were talking about what do we do now? Now we're at the 7 year itch time. Yeah.
Well, congratulations are also in order for being right on several predictions from last year. So I'll just call out one, which is a Dubai chocolate. And I have to say, I was a little dubious about that one. And then immediately started seeing it everywhere, everything, so well done on that.
Melissa, we're taking full credit for that. We're
Yeah.
taking full credit for the explosion of
I will
Dubai
give it to
chocolate.
you because that's the
Okay.
first place I heard about it.
Yeah, now you can get it for $30 a bar in your local gas
Yeah.
station. Every time I check out gas, I see it
And
there. I'm
there's
like,
every
oh,
kind
that
of
looks
drink.
good.
Every drink is being made with Dubai chocolate now. Dubai chocolate martinis, Dubai chocolate lattes.
Coffees. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chocolate, hot chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. It's delicious.
Mhm.
Let's talk about some trends for 2026, starting with the modern Mexican mixology. What can you guys tell us about that?
Yeah, I'll let Candace take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the cocktail scene in Mexico City. And, I think what we're seeing is that we're seeing some post-pandemic travel tourism happening where people are really experiencing and kind of rediscovering it. And there's, this sense of like, we had two of the top three bars in the Americas from the world's 50 best bars are located there. It's really just about blending really spot on techniques with those local ingredients and really bringing you something new and interesting, really anchored in that sense of place. But we're sort of seeing these things and certainly the continued popularity of tequila and mezcal and, the sodal, they just continues to grow and feel that. So it's some really interesting things happening.
Yeah, I think
So,
it, from my point of view, I think it also just is this amazing popularity of Mexico City right now, and the general flavors of Latin flavors and spice in cocktails. So I think it was right on.
I was going to say, and just add, there no end in sight to the tequila and mezcal movement you guys see in the coming year.
I think that obviously the tariffs are having an impact on some of the things. So I think actually, Candace, don't we talk about did we talk about this year Sodal? That was last year, right?
That
The
was last
tequila
year. Yeah, that
last
was
year,
a spirit
the
on the
tequila
rise.
replacement and some American versions of tequila like drinks that or spirits that might come onto the scene. But I don't know. I think everybody who loves a good margarita is going to be willing to pay a little more for it, even if it costs
Mm.
them a little more to import it.
Yeah, I agree. So let's segue into agave wine, which is
Yeah, which is right along the same
fermented,
lines.
not
Yes.
distilled, right?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, we definitely saw a lot of increases in menu descriptions that included agave wine. It's the blue agave plant. Obviously, it's the same plant as tequila, but as you mentioned, it's fermented rather than distilled, and it's low in ABV. And so I think as we continue to see people looking for drinks that give them that are cocktails and that are but that are aren't necessarily super alcohol soaked. We're seeing it pop up on menus as a substitution.
Well, another thing is if you don't have a full liquor permit, I I think that in most places you're able to serve like if you can serve beer and wine, you can serve like margaritas made with
Yes.
agave wine.
Absolutely. Low AV, anything low ABV. So, and they are creating cocktails with these low ABV spirits, and in the bars that quote unquote, to your point, Melissa, have a beer and wine license only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Melissa, I hope you don't mind if I jump ahead a question here, just the one I see in the middle here. I wanted to ask you guys about social media, pay to play, shareable content, and I see Reddit down here.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Indeed. Well, and Candace, I'm the old guy, so if I don't get this right, chime in. But the Reddit communities that are being built in each market are, very they're I'd say the
Active.
modern day chat rooms, if you will, and they're very active. And so if you have a business that can participate as a local partner in that area, and it's got to be very authentic in terms of the conversations that you're having, and they'll sniff you out if they see that you're just doing it from a promotional point of view. But a great example of this is we have a more casual pizza concept called Square Pie Guys.
Hmm.
And because it is that community friendly, family friendly kind of restaurant, when we open them in different markets, we join the Reddit community and then we invite them to the open house so that
Hmm.
we're building in a different way than we've ever done before. We're having more community driven activities, and Reddit's turning out to be a fairly effective vehicle for that.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention the Reddit as someone who may or may not be banned from certain Reddit communities for perhaps doing a little bit too much self-promotion back
That's
in the
right.
day. But boy,
Yes.
I'm
you can't
shocked.
you get some phenomenal traffic from Reddit. Before Reddit decided they didn't want to see the article I was posting, I won't name what subreddits,
Yeah,
but we were
yeah.
getting enormous traffic from those subreddits. You're right;
Yes.
those communities are very well established and they're
Yeah.
very active, engaged. You're right; they're the modern chat rooms. These are the people who know the most about the subjects right now. This is where they gather to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, I will say this, there was a bit of a higher no-show rate, like, so
Mm.
they're a little less committed to attend. So I think that was a learning lesson that we had. So we adjusted, how we did things with them.
That's a really good point because they are an online community. They're not much of an offline community. They're
Yeah.
people who like to talk about things online. They may not
Mhm.
actually want to go. I mean, that's kind of one of the running jokes on Reddit. You could probably guess by now that I'm a pretty consistent Redditor.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
one of
Yeah.
the running jokes on Reddit is like, here's a Reddit mod meetup, and it's just a picture of an empty room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
know.
mean, I think the other place of it's a great place to listen and learn what your
Mm.
guests are talking about or what a community is. So, there's definitely that sense of like, I'm opening a new location in a market that I don't know. What is the Reddit community saying? What can I learn about what people are interested in there? Less about kind of here's where I'm going to push my information out. I think there's enough of that in the
Yeah.
world that it's more about listening and really understanding like what's important to this community. What should I engage with? Great place to find local charities if you're not, again, if you're opening in a new market.
Excellent
Right.
point.
I,
Excellent point.
I think also with AI taking over search, it tends to come up in the search results now for things
Very
like,
much so.
are these shoes comfortable? All of a sudden you're in a Reddit thread and, getting good information and also not, I think you pointed out in the report, it's not like the listicles that very
Mhm.
promotional, kind of useless things that you tend to see online.
I could be
Yep.
wrong, but it's the most viewed website in the world, I think, at this
I
point.
think that's correct. I think it was the number two in our research we found was the number
Okay.
two via search checkup, second to only Wikipedia.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That makes sense. That makes
So
sense.
yeah.
Along those same lines of digital trends, certainly pay to play seems to be extraordinarily important now. We see it all the time with the influencers coming in and creating content. Melissa and I are obviously we're kind of old school journalists. We go on press trips, and half the members of the press trip now are influencers, which, by the way,
Yep.
I support. They're content creators. I support all
Mhm.
content
Yeah.
creators. But certainly that seems to be where the market is shifting towards these influencer pay to play types of things online.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think the influencers, can be pay to play, can also not be, depending on kind of, again, it's content creation. So it's similar to journalism, right? Somebody's making it, and somebody has to, get paid to make it, right? So there's that. I think where we also see the pay to play being very prevalent is just in terms of social media.
Yeah.
Your organic content is only going to
Yeah.
reach, 10 per 20% of your followers, right? So that's good because they're the most engaged. But if you're trying to reach new people, that has a cost, and you need to think about that in terms of producing high quality content, because sadly, most people don't go onto social media hoping that some marketer like me is going to post for them and tell them about something they should buy or do. But there's, there's that sense of like, okay, we want to reach specific people. We have to have entertaining and engaging. We call it strategic entertainment content, right? And then we have to pay to get the right eyeballs to see it. So it's definitely something that's an investment that needs to be made.
It is
I love
interesting because I'd love to get your take on like, so you don't mind when the influencers are on the media trip with you because
no,
some of the media people don't love it.
some certainly do not. I
Yeah.
have friends in
Yeah.
the industry, and I'm not going to name names, who hate all of the influencers. Again, I don't know. Like you said, journalists are getting paid to create content. These people are getting paid to create
Yeah.
content. Content creation is content creation. These people know and are as passionate about these things as I am. So why should
Yeah.
I besmirch that their medium is online where mine is writing? And by the way, I do social media myself. So it's not like I'm not also making social media in a similar vein than
Yeah.
they are. So I don't know. I'll also tell
Yeah.
you, though, they don't like the phrase influencer. That's how
Yeah.
you can
No.
tell a
Yeah.
journalist who likes them and who doesn't. A journalist who likes them uses the phrase content creators, which is like the PC term.
Mhm.
Influencers is like a pejorative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
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 I loved your phrase, Candace, strategic entertainment, because I wanted to ask you, and you started to talk about this, and I wanted to ask you a bit of
Mhm.
more follow up.
Yeah.
What I see now from a lot of successful brands on social media, especially bars and restaurants, they're doing these sketches. They're doing humorous
Mhm.
content where the point isn't even to say like what's on the menu. It's not that. It's like actual humor. They're all borrowing each other's sketches, whatever. If it works, it works. Just your thought on kind of like the humor side of all this, the performance side of this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look, I mean, participating in social media as a restaurant brand or a spirit brand or anything is like being invited to a party, right? Like you go to a party, you don't walk in and immediately start offering everybody samples of your product and like, talking about how great you are, right? You walk in, you kind of read the room. At least I don't go to a party that way. Maybe Andrew does.
Wow.
I
But
show up
no,
with
but
bottles of whiskey. I'm famous for my satchel bag that's filled with bottles of whiskeys. People are
Well,
I
surprised
mean,
when
everybody likes free samples, but again, you walk in, you kind of read the room. What are the conversations that are happening here? What are people laughing about? And if everybody's kind of in on a certain joke, do I add my own version of it or do I just participate and laugh? I think so. I think that's, it's a social, we forget sometimes as marketers that it is social media. It's not media social. So there is
yeah.
a sense of, what are people enjoying here, and if I'm going to be an active and great community member, what do I have to bring to the table, and how do I do that with what I have? So it doesn't all have to be humor. It doesn't all have to be, sometimes you can have really informative content, really, again, but it's really about goes back to that value proposition. Like if I'm a spirit brand or I'm a wine brand or I'm a restaurant brand or a hotel brand, what do I add to the world? What makes me different? What makes me unique? And then how do I tell that story in a way that matters to other people and isn't just like, hey, $5 cocktail, maybe that matters to people. There
Yeah.
are people that love that. I won't turn down a good cocktail, but again, it's about participating in a way that matters.
Yeah, I think it's so much about the brand ethos, like what's your brand and how are you going to present it? And like, and that's why branding and brand storytelling is so important right now because, you know, you, the narrative that you create is also going to be how you bring it to life. And so, we kind of laugh in our office about the fun. I'm super fun and Candace is not so fun, but
Like me and Kyle.
I mean, whose
Well, you're
definition
lots
of
of fun.
fun? Whose definition of fun are we
No,
using?
that's
That's the
just so you know
question.
that's an inside joke because we always kid about it. But I would say that the brand narrative and the storytelling is what really makes it. And I'm just going to throw this in here. It may not be the right place, but I think human connection is still so much about our business versus AI connect. All the whole world of AI, and I feel like that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves is like drinking and dining and being out and about is a human activity, a connection. And so your brand should bring that to life in your social media too.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember one of the podcasts we did recently that you mentioned AI, and that's obviously both a positive and a boogeyman in this and every industry. We had a joke in one of our recent podcasts. I forget who we were interviewing, Melissa, but we were going to open a bar where the entire menu was AI generated, and I was just like, the joke was like world's worst ideas. Like just
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
a
yeah.
cocktail list, everything is just AI nonsense. I'm just like,
Yeah,
ugh. I hope that's not where we're going.
yeah. No, I hope
Well,
Yeah.
not.
let's talk about that human connection as it pertains to wine, because wine
Mhm.
experience
Yeah,
is,
Yeah.
really what
Yeah.
everyone is talking
Yeah.
about
I'm
now.
here. I'm here at a winery right now in Sonoma, and we just had our strategic meeting, and it was all about like how do we continue to connect to our authentically our brands to the community because they were giving me some, pretty concerning stats about wine sales and and then also we were talking about I'm in Healdsburg right now and they're saying it was the slowest week on record, which is usually their very busy time because Healdsburg's
Yeah.
like a hallmark city for the holidays. And, there is a little bit of I think a little bit of a fear of spending right now, primarily because we're living in kind of strange times. But then you add in that the drinking habits have changed and NA, but I think the stat I heard today is that, there's just if every single person is consuming one less cocktail per week than they were in the past, whether for health reasons or money or whatever. So but we got into a whole conversation about you have to give them other reasons to come. And so wineries are, I think, in the moment now have this really great opportunity to reinvent themselves to create
Mhm.
experiential, like come for the music, come for we were talking about doing a pasta feed at one of our Italian inspired concepts. Come for the fun, make it reasonable and approachable. And when they're there, they're going to drink and they're going to buy and they're going to be exposed to your wine. So I think it's a shift in behavior and how we present things more than people aren't drinking anymore. I think it's just that they just don't want to come in the way they used to for a tasting. Now, granted, there's always going to be that too, but getting the younger generations involved comes through more about experiences.
Absolutely. And hopefully you don't hear my 11-month-old crying in the background, but absolutely agreed.
That's okay.
Yeah. What do you, I mean, you're reporting on this all the time, I mean,
Well, I was nodding my head vigorously throughout all of that because I completely agree with you. And younger folks in wine is a constant concern of mine. I was actually having a conversation with a retailer here in Connecticut just the other day about getting younger people into wine. And the problem is the education. Younger folks
Yes.
don't know anything about wine. And it's almost like, how do you reach them in a way that doesn't make them feel overwhelmed and sort of, what's the phrase I'm thinking of? Like left out. Like it's almost like it's too hoity toity. I
Yeah,
can't think of
yeah.
the word I'm trying to say, but they feel like
Intimidating.
It's,
intimidating. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
word I was
intimidated.
looking for.
Yes.
How do you connect to them? And I mean, I have this conversation probably every other week with a different member of the industry, and I get a different answer every single time. I mean, I was making an argument to a wine marketer in Manhattan just last month, this exact argument that we need to do social media, we need to do 30-second clips, we need to make everything as simple as humanly possible. And I like when people push back on things I say. She made a good point, which is like, yeah, but that's not like the way that wine was discovered for every other year in existence. There was this path of wine discovery. There was this immersion. There was this like wine aha moment that every other
Mhm.
generation had. Now we're going to throw all of that out the window. And I'm not saying I have an answer. Just she made a good point. Like I
But
don't,
the
I
problem,
don't.
yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, please go ahead.
But the problem is that the cost barriers to entry, for the wine industry for so long has made such an investment in building relationships with distributors that we've forgotten about the fact that by the glass programs are how people discover wine, right? And reasonably priced by the glass programs. Like if I don't know anything about
Yeah,
if I look at a wine list and I can't understand what has more alcohol or what has less alcohol, I don't know any of these regions. It's very coded. It's a very
yeah,
insider experience. And then on top of that, you're going to ask me to either spend 75 or $85 for a bottle or at
yeah,
minimum, right? In most places that, it's very difficult to get a reasonably priced wine bottle. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm going to have to drink the whole thing with my table, right? It's intimidating. And then at the same time, if my buy the glass options are the same price as me buying four glasses from a bottle, it's a barrier to entry.
yeah.
I'm already concerned about trying, and therefore, and then you're making it more expensive. And if we're trying to
Yeah,
reach Gen Z, they are lower income earners.
absolutely.
So, you've priced them right out of their discovery moments.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I
say
don't.
too that like I just keep thinking like we were talking about this today, but the younger this is not a new thing because I remember when I worked at the Russian tea room, like whenever and the meeting planner had to pick the wine for the dinner, like if they were very intimidated by the list, right? So they'd always just pick the Russian River wine, which was so funny, right? Because it just had the word Russian in it, and they were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this is perfect," right? So this isn't a new thing, but I think like to getting rid of the intimidation factor and like that also that fear of commitment like have they just need to have more fun with it. They need
yeah,
to bring them along
Mhm.
on the journey and let them taste a little something and get them
Yeah.
involved in it. And,
And
yeah,
I was going
Yeah,
to say, and that's what the, sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to say there was an article in Food and Wine recently that was saying one of the issues is like the kind of formal Eurocentric
yeah,
language that we use to talk about wine doesn't really resonate with that audience. So,
Right.
yeah,
They want to
it's
talk, they
true.
want wines like pizza wine, right?
Yes,
Or
yeah, right.
whiny
Yeah.
Yeah.
baby, or,
Yeah.
they are
This,
something
yeah,
approachable.
yeah,
Absolutely. And,
yeah.
you made a great point, Candace. And this is probably the thing we said the most this year on our podcast when discussing Gen Z is Gen Z doesn't necessarily have a drinking problem so much as they have a money problem. And
Mhm.
I've said this 1,000 times on the podcast here, so I'll keep it brief. But I still think that's a generation that got hit the hardest by COVID. It came right when they were kind of getting into the beginning of their career. So their career has been stalled, their earning has been stalled. And so, of course, they're going to be spending less money.
Yeah,
It's a
and
point that made a
socially
thousand
as
times.
well, they don't
yeah,
have the
yeah,
same,
yeah.
they
That's
don't
it.
go out the
There
way that
Yeah.
we all
But
do.
I'm not giving up on wine. Wine is going to be here forever. Wine is part of the
it
culture of
is.
dining out, and I think it's just the way we rethink it.
Yeah, no, I
Mhm.
agree with you. And the reason I brought up that retailer I was having a conversation with yesterday is he's a young retailer. This wasn't an old retailer. This is
Mhm.
probably a gentleman in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, who owned a liquor store. And I know him as a whiskey store. I know Melissa's surprised. And I walked into his
Mhm.
store and he had this giant wine wall all of a sudden. I was like, oh, you're getting into wine. And he's like, I've been immersing myself in it. It's my new thing. And I'm starting to teach
Mhm.
more people about it. So I agree with you, Andrew. I'm not giving up either.
Yeah.
Well, so some of the varietals that you think are going to be big this next year, are Chenin Blanc, Cabernet Franc, and Vino Verde.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
We think they're for different reasons all poised for success. Um, Cabernet Franc is a has is a lot of times sort of chilled, which is something we know it be makes is appealing to younger generations and sort of it's kind of a darling of the natural wine world, and that's another area that's one of the areas of bright spots one of the greater areas in the wine industry. So that's really interesting. Vino Verde is a very social drinking wine. We're seeing increased tourism to Portugal. It's naturally lower in ABV. So again, when we think about kind of white wine as a bright spot in wine sales, and Sauvignon Blanc as a current growing varietal, we think that Vino Verde has a lot of opportunity to build on that.
My young team referred to the wines that we chose, the white wines, as poolside pounders. That
Horse pounders to you.
yeah, yeah. But I think they're
Yeah.
light, refreshing, and they are sort of appealing to that everything we've been talking about. More easy to to feel comfortable in those wines.
That'd be
Yeah.
a great name for a Gen Z focused wine brand, Poolside Pounder. I'm writing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
down and trademarking that.
yeah.
So I think we probably just have time for one more. So
Mhm.
let's make that passion fruit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Candace. I
Andrew, you
got
want to
the
take that one?
No, go ahead. I'll chime
Um,
in. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
passion fruit. Every year there's something that's bright and colorful. We've seen ube everywhere, that bright purple color. And passion fruit, is another one. I think it's very Instagrammable. It's kind of walks the line between sweet and tart. Kind of gives a little lift to cocktails without being kind of chew on the nose. And the it's we're seeing it beyond tiki drinks, right? Into other types of other types of beverages. So it's got a lot of stage presence, if you
Yeah,
will.
and I'll say that in general, passion fruit is having a moment in desserts. It's having its moment
Mhm.
on food. It's every year, like Candace said, ube was our big ingredient 2 years ago, I think. And so there's always one that sort of surfaces to. And I will say this, I think Instagram sometimes drives some of these decisions because you want it to be, look how beautiful these cocktails
Yeah.
are, so they taste good,
Yeah.
but they also look beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let the camera eat before you eat is what the
that's right.
content
That's right.
creators
Yeah,
always
especially
say.
malt. Yep.
Now,
Yes.
listen,
Absolutely.
we can't. Well, we have to ask you about your food city of the year though before we go, and we're a little biased because the company that owns our magazines may or may not be based there.
Well, they are
Minneapolis.
based there. Why are you being weird
Yeah.
about it?
I don't want
I
to be
would,
biased,
yeah, I would say that in general, I'll just throw it in there. It's like, it's coming together of both coasts into a really cool middle city. And, you know, so I also think the affordability of being able to explore your new concepts and new restaurants there is much different than New York or San Francisco or even Chicago. And so I think a lot of the great food minds ended, like great chefs have ended up there. And,
Mm.
you know, I think, and I just felt like we all felt that this is like just such a great opportunity of this cross-cultural connection that is happening.
Mhm.
And and I think Minneapolis is a lot more sophisticated, I think, than maybe a lot of the world thinks. And so we just found it was a great choice.
Completely agreed. We go to Minneapolis every other year, and we always have a great time there. And you're right. There's
Yeah.
a level of sophistication to that city that if you've never been there, you don't understand. It's much
Yeah.
more sophisticated than probably a lot of
Yeah.
people think.
Yeah. Well, this has been, as always, it's been so much fun.
Thank you.
We
Yeah.
appreciate you guys coming in. We really do.
Okay, great. And
Yeah.
let us know if you need anything else, and if you come out this way and get on this Inside Out newsletter that Carbonate produces, because we
Yes.
do this weekly now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Great.
where can people find that? And where can people find your report for
Just
our listeners?
go to the Carbonate website or go to the af&co website, and you'll be directed to for the report, and for Inside Out, go to the Carbonate website.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Inside Out is carbonateinsights.com. But it's on Substack, and the Substack is Insight Out.
Yeah.
Go check those out, listeners.
Yeah. And we'll make sure you two get on the list.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy
All right.
holidays. Happy New
Happy
Year.
holidays.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Happy
Happy New Year to you
holidays.
as well.
Okay, okay,
Cheers.
thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's all the time we have for today. We want to thank Andrew and Candice for joining us.
And thanks to all of you out there for listening to On and Off. Join us next time when we'll talk about yet another fascinating topic that spans the retail and restaurant worlds. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed the On and Off podcast, please hit the subscribe button. Also, you can find more great content at cheersonline.com and beveragedynamics.com, including recipes, product reviews, and interviews with the movers and shakers of the beverage alcohol industry. You can also sign up for our free weekly e-newsletters for both publications on our websites. Cheers!